An ordinance for ascertaining the mode of disposing of lands in the Western Territory. Be it ordained by the United States in Congress assembled that the territory ceded by individual states to the United States, which has been purchased of the Indian inhabitants, shall be disposed of in the following manner. A surveyor from each state shall be appointed by Congress or a committee of the states, who shall take an oath for the faithful discharge of his duty before the geographer of the United States, who is hereby empowered and directed to administer the same. And the like oath shall be administered to each chain carrier by the surveyor under whom he acts.
The geographer, under whose direction the surveyor shall act, shall occasionally form such regulations for their conduct as he shall deem necessary, and shall have authority to suspend them from misconduct in office, and shall make report of the same to Congress or to the committee of the states, and he shall make report in case of sickness, death, or resignation of any surveyor. The surveyors, as they are respectively qualified, shall proceed to divide the said territory into townships of 6 miles square, by lines running due north and south, and others crossing these at right angles, as near as may be, unless where the boundaries of the late Indian purchases may render the same impracticable, and then they shall depart from this rule no farther than particular circumstances may require. And each surveyor shall be allowed and paid at the rate of $2 for every mile in length he shall run, including the wages of chain carriers, markers, and every other expense attending the same.
The first line, running north and south as aforesaid, shall begin on the river Ohio, at a point that shall be found to be due north from the western termination of a line which has been run as the southern boundary of the state of Pennsylvania. And the first line running east and west shall begin at the same point and shall extend throughout the whole territory, provided that nothing herein shall be construed as fixing the western boundary of the state of Pennsylvania. The geographer shall designate the townships or fractional parts of townships by numbers progressively from south to north, always beginning each range with the number 1, and the ranges shall be distinguished by their progressive numbers to the westward. The first range, extending from the Ohio to the Lake Erie, being marked number 1. The geographer shall personally attend to the running of the first east and west line, and shall take the latitude of the extremes of the first north and south line, and of the mouths of the principal rivers.
The lines shall be measured with a chain, shall be plainly marked by chaps on the trees, and exactly described on a plat, whereon shall be noted by the surveyor at their proper distances all mines, salt springs, salt licks, and mill seats that shall come to his knowledge, and all water courses, mountains, and other remarkable and permanent things over and near which such lines shall pass, and also the quality of the lands. The plats of the townships, respectively, shall be marked by subdivisions into lots of 1 mile square, or 640 acres, in the same direction as the external lines, and numbered from 1 to 36, always beginning the succeeding range of the lots with the number next to that with which the preceding one concluded. And where, from the causes before mentioned, only a fractional part of a township shall be surveyed, the lots protracted thereon shall bear the same numbers as if the township had been entire. And the surveyors, in running the external lines of the townships, shall, at the interval of every mile, mark corners for the lots which are adjacent, always designating the same in a different manner from those of the townships.
The geographer and surveyor shall pay the utmost attention to the variation of the magnetic needle and shall run and note all lines by the true meridian, certifying with every plat what was the variation at the times of running the lines thereon noted. As soon as 7 ranges of townships and fractional parts of townships in the direction from south to north shall have been surveyed, the geographer shall transmit plats thereof to the Board of Treasury, who shall record the same with the report in well-bound books to be kept for that purpose. And the geographer shall make similar returns from time to time of every 7 ranges as they may be surveyed. The Secretary at War shall have recourse thereto, and shall take by lot therefrom a number of townships and fractional parts of townships, as well as those to be sold entire, as from those to be sold in lots, as will be equal to 1/7 part of the whole of 7 ranges, as nearly as may be for the use of the late Continental Army. The Board of Treasury shall from time to time cause the remaining numbers, as well as those to be sold entire, as those to be sold in lot, to be drawn for in the name of the 13 states respectively, according to the quotas in the last preceding requisition on all the states, provided that in the case more land than its proportion is allotted for sale in any state, at any distribution a deduction be made therefore at the next.
The Board of Treasury shall transmit a copy of the original plats previously noting thereon the townships and fractional parts of township which shall have fallen to the several states by the distribution aforesaid, to the commissioners of the loan office of the several states, who after giving notice of not less than 2 nor more than 6 months, by causing advertisements to be posted up at the courthouses or other noted places in every county, shall proceed to sell the townships or fractional parts of townships at public vendue in the following manner, viz. The township or fractional part of a township N1 in the first range shall be sold entire, and N2 in the same range by lots, and thus in alternate order through the whole of the first range, provided that none of the lands within the said territory be sold under the price of $1 the acre, to be paid in specie or loan office certificates, reduced to specie value by the scale of depreciation, or certificates of liquidated debts of the United States, including interest beside the expense of the survey, certificates as aforesaid, and so in the same proportion for a fractional part of a township or of a lot, to be paid at the time of sales, on failure of which payment the said land shall again be offered for sale.
There shall be reserved for the United States out of every township the 4 lots, being numbered 8, 11, 26, 29, and out of every fractional part of a township, so many lots of the same numbers as shall be found thereon for future sale. There shall be reserved the lot number 16 of every township for the maintenance of public schools within the said township. Also, 1/3 part of all gold, silver, lead, and copper mines, to be sold or otherwise disposed of as Congress shall hereafter direct. When any township or fractional part of a township shall have been sold as aforesaid, and the money or certificates received therefor, the loan officer shall deliver a deed in the following terms. And when any township or fractional part of a township shall be sold by lots as aforesaid, the commissioner of the loan office shall deliver a deed therefor in the following form.
Which deed shall be recorded in proper books by the commissioner of the loan office, and shall be certified to have been recorded previous to their being delivered to the purchaser, and shall be good and valid to convey the lands in the same described. The commissioners of the loan offices respectfully shall transmit to the Board of Treasury every 3 months an account of the townships, fractional parts of townships, and lots committed to their charge, specifying therein the names of the persons to whom sold, and the sums of money or certificates received for the same, and shall cause all certificates by them received to be struck through with a circular punch, and they shall be duly charged in the books of the Treasury with the amount of the monies or certificates distinguishing the same by them received as aforesaid. If any township or fractional part of a township or lot remains unsold for 18 months after the plat shall have been received by the commissioners of the loan office, the same shall be returned to the Board of Treasury and shall be sold in such manner as Congress may hereinafter direct.
The commissioners of the loan offices shall execute deeds for such undivided proportions in manner and form herein before mentioned, varying only in such a degree as to make the same conformable to the certificate from the Secretary at War. Where any military claimants of bounty and lands shall not have belonged to the line of any particular state, similar certificates shall be sent to the Board of Treasury, who shall execute deeds to the parties for the same. The Secretary at War, from the proper returns, shall transmit to the Board of Treasury a certificate specifying the name and rank of the several claimants of the hospital department of the late Continental Army, together with the quantity of land each claimant is entitled to and the township, or fractional part of a township, and range out of which his portion is to be taken. And thereupon the Board of Treasury shall proceed to execute deeds to such claimants.
The Board of Treasury and the Commissioners of the loan offices in the states shall, within 18 months, return receipts to the Secretary at War for all deeds which have been delivered, as also all the original deeds which remain in their hands for want of applicants, having been first recorded, which deeds so returned shall be preserved in the office until the parties or their representatives require the same. And be it further ordained that 3 townships adjacent to Lake Erie be reserved, to be hereafter disposed of by Congress, for the use of the officers, men, and others, refugees from Canada, and the refugees from Nova Scotia, who are or may be entitled to grants of land under resolutions of Congress now existing, or which may hereafter be made respecting them, and for such other purposes as Congress may hereafter direct.
And be it further ordained that the towns Adenhutton, Schoenbrunn, and Salem on the Muskingum, and so much of the lands adjoining to the said towns, with the buildings and improvements thereon, shall be reserved for the sole use of the Christian Indians who were formerly settled there, or the remains of that society, as may, in the judgment of the geographer, be sufficient for them to cultivate.
Saving and reserving always to all officers and soldiers entitled to lands on the northwest side of the Ohio by donation or bounty from the Commonwealth of Virginia, and to all persons claiming under them all rights to which they are so entitled, under the deed of cession executed by the delegates for the state of Virginia on the 1st day of March, 1784, and the act of Congress accepting the same, and to the end that the said rights may be fully and effectually secured, according to the true intent and meaning of the said deed of cession and act aforesaid. Be it ordained that no part of the land included between the rivers called the Miami and the Scotia, on the northwest side of the river Ohio, be sold or in any manner alienated until there shall first have been laid off and appropriated for the said officers and soldiers and persons claiming under them the lands they are entitled to, agreeably to the said deed of cession and act of Congress accepting the same. Done by the United States and Congress assembled the 20th day of May in the year of our Lord, 1785, and of our sovereignty and independence the 9th.